You already know what you should be doing. You know the thing that would change your life, and some part of you actually wants the result, and still, day after day, you don't do it. You've probably called yourself lazy for that, weak, undisciplined. You've promised yourself you'd be different on Monday, and Monday came, and you weren't. But laziness was never the problem. The problem is that your own brain is working against you, quietly, cleverly, on purpose, and it has been winning, because you've never once seen how it does it. Your brain is not on your side here. It thinks it is. Its entire job is to keep you safe and comfortable, and it does that by talking you out of anything hard, anything uncertain, anything that feels like a risk. But it doesn't do this by shouting don't. If it did, you'd notice, and you'd fight it. It does it by lying to you in a voice that sounds exactly like your own reasonable thoughts. It runs cons on you, little ones, all day, each one disguised as something sensible, and you fall for every single one because you've never learned to recognize them. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous enemy is never the one outside the walls. It's the one already inside the gates, the one who looks like a friend, the one whose betrayal you never see coming because you invited him in. He spent his life around men destroyed not by armies but by the advisor at their own table whispering the comfortable thing, and the brain is that advisor. You don't beat an enemy like that by pushing harder or wanting it more. You beat him by learning his playbook, every trick, every lie, every move, until the moment he opens his mouth, you already know what he's doing. That's what this is. I'm going to walk you through your brain's entire playbook, one con at a time. You'll recognize every one of them, because you ran at least one of them today. For each con, I'll show you the exact lie it tells, what falling for it has already cost you, and the precise move that beats it. And there's one thing underneath all of them, the last move, that flips the whole game. It turns your brain's resistance from the thing stopping you into the thing that points you straight at what matters. But that only makes sense after you've seen the cons. So let's start with the one your brain almost certainly ran on you in the last 24 hours. Quick thing first, so we're clear. None of this is about hating yourself into action or grinding until you break. That grind, force it, white knuckle it, suffer through it, is exactly the approach that's been failing you, because willpower is a fight your brain is built to win. This is the opposite. This is outsmarting it, not overpowering it. So let's get into the playbook. The first con is the one called later. It sounds like this. I'll do it later. Tonight, tomorrow, when I'm fresh, this weekend. And it feels completely reasonable, because you're not refusing, you're not quitting, you're just scheduling. That's the trick, and it's a beautiful one. Quitting feels bad, it comes with guilt, with the sting of giving up. So your brain never asks you to quit, it only asks you to delay. And delay feels like the opposite of quitting. Even though stretched across enough days, it is exactly the same thing. You think you're committing to do it later. So ask yourself, how many of the things you committed to do later have you actually done? Think about the one thing you've been going to start for months, maybe years. The project, the conversation, the change. You haven't decided against it. If anyone asked, you'd say you're definitely going to do it. You've just been doing it later, every day for a very long time. That pile of later is the receipt for this con. Watch what it does to you. Every time you push the hard thing to later, your brain gets the relief of avoidance right now with none of the guilt of quitting, which means there's nothing painful to push back against. So it does it again tomorrow. And again. Later was never a time on the calendar. It's a place your brain sends things to die quietly while you feel like they're still alive. The life you'd have if you'd done the thing instead of scheduling it. That's the bill you're paying, right now, for believing in later. So you take later off the table completely. The only two real options are now, or an honest no. If it's not happening now, you don't get to say later. You have to say, out loud, I am choosing not to do this. And you have to feel that, because your brain will scramble to avoid admitting it's quitting. That admission is the thing it's been dodging this whole time. And for the things that matter, you lock the decision in before the moment arrives, with a simple plan. When this specific thing happens, I do that specific thing. When I sit down with my coffee, I write the first sentence. When I get home, the shoes go on before I sit down. You decide it once, in advance, so there's no live argument left for your brain to win. This isn't just a trick, there's hard evidence behind it. A psychologist named Peter Gallwitzer spent years studying why people follow through, and he found something striking. People who only intend to do a thing, I'll exercise this week, mostly don't. But people who make a specific plan in the form of, when X happens, I will do Y, follow through at dramatically higher rates. The plan works because it takes the decision out of the moment, and the moment is exactly where your brain does its best lying. Decide once when you're clear, and you never have to win the argument again. As Machiavelli might put it, delay is the favorite weapon of the enemy who can't beat you head on. He doesn't need to defeat you today if he can convince you to fight tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. The next con is sneakier because it doesn't look like avoidance at all. It looks like work. What is it? The second con is fake work. The lie goes, I just need to prepare a little more first, do some research, get organized, let me clear these few small things, then I'll start the real thing. And it feels responsible, mature, even. You're not procrastinating, look at you, you're being thorough. But notice what's actually happening. You are doing everything around the hard thing so you don't have to do the hard thing, and you get to feel productive the entire time. That's why this con is so hard to catch. There's no guilt to trip the alarm, because you really were busy. Go back to a day you spent getting ready to start something, buying the gear, watching the tutorials, color-coding the plan, answering the easy emails. You ended the day tired and satisfied, like you'd worked, and you'd moved the actual thing forward by nothing. The cost compounds in the dark. Because preparing feels like progress, your brain will let you prepare forever. There's always one more thing to research, one more system to set up, one more small task to clear first. Whole years disappear into getting ready. The novel that's all outlines and no chapters. The business that's all logos and no customers. The body that's all meal plans and no training. You were never blocked. You were hiding, and your brain handed you a respectable place to hide. The counter is to do the real thing first. Badly. Before you feel ready, before it's set up perfectly, you write the ugly first paragraph, you do the clumsy first set, you make the awkward first call. The prep only counts if it's serving work that's already underway, not work you're promising to begin once everything's perfect. And when you catch yourself preparing, you name it for what it is, that this is avoidance wearing a tie. There's a line in Machiavelli about men who spend their lives sharpening the sword. It looks like readiness, but for some of them, it's just a respectable way of never having to walk onto the field. The third con works in the opposite direction. Instead of shrinking the task into busy work, it makes it enormous, and it does it in a way you'll mistake for being realistic. The third con is the mountain. Here's how it runs. The second you think about the hard thing, your brain shows you the whole of it, all at once. Not write today's page, the entire book, all 300 pages of it. Not train today, the full year of discipline it'll take to transform. Not have the conversation, every possible way it could go wrong. It piles the whole mountain in front of you in a single image, and the image is so big and so heavy that you freeze before you've taken one step. And freezing feels almost wise, because the thing genuinely is that big. So you don't start. You think you're being realistic about how hard it is. Realistic for who? The version of you that wanted it done, or the part of you that's terrified to begin. Picture the last thing you wanted, that you never even attempted, not failed at, never started. You stood at the bottom, looked up at the whole climb at once, and quietly decided it was too much. The deciding took barely a moment, and you've carried the not doing for years. What the mountain cost you is everything you never began. Not the things you tried and lost, those at least taught you something. The real graveyard is the things you never touched, because the full size of them scared you off at the trailhead before you'd earned the right to even feel tired. The counter is to make the brain's objection impossible. You shrink the first move down so small it isn't worth defending against. Not write the book, open the document, not get in shape, put the shoes by the door and put them on. Not have the talk, send the single text that says, "Can we talk this week?" The mountain is real, but you never have to face the mountain. You only ever have to face the next single step, and a step is too small for your brain to bother building a wall around. Momentum lives on the other side of a move too small to argue with. No one takes a country in a day, Machiavelli knew. You take one town, then the next, and only the frightened man stares at the whole map and calls the thing impossible. The fourth con is the most comfortable lie you tell yourself, because it lets you off the hook completely by handing the work to someone else. Someone who, it turns out, doesn't actually exist. The fourth con is future you. It whispers, future me will handle this. He'll be more disciplined, more rested, more motivated than I am right now. I'll start when I become that person. And it's such a relief, because you get to keep your comfortable today and still believe the thing will get done, just by a better version of you who's coming soon. The trouble is that version doesn't exist and never shows. You think you're deferring to a stronger future self, When has that stronger self ever actually arrived? You know exactly how this ends because you've watched it happen. Think about the January gym membership, bought in good faith by present you, as a gift to a disciplined future you who was definitely going to go. By February, the parking lot is empty again. Future you turned out to be exactly as tired, exactly as busy, exactly as human as present you, because future you was always just you, on a later day, inheriting the same pile. That's the real cost. Future you arrives every single morning. He wakes up in your bed, with your habits, your tiredness, your excuses, and the work you handed him, and he does the same thing you did, hands it forward again, to a future you who's even further down the line. The whole chain is one person passing the bill to himself forever. So you stop negotiating with a person who doesn't exist, and you make the only version that's real, the one alive right now, pay. You put something on the line today, money you lose if you don't do it, a promise made out loud to someone who'll check, a consequence scheduled for this week, not someday. You bind present you to the thing, because present you is the only one who was ever going to do it. The promise of a better future self, Machiavelli understood, is the most comfortable lie a man ever tells himself. Comfortable precisely because the one making the promise is never around to be held to it. So that's 4 cons exposed, and you should be feeling something strange by now, the recognition that your own mind has been running these exact moves on you for years, and you never once caught it in the act. Before the last cons, stop and answer this for yourself. Of the 4 so far, later, fake work, the mountain, future you, which one did your brain run on you today? Not this year, today. Find it, and notice it's probably the same con it always reaches for first, your brain's favorite tool, the one that's cost you the most. Let me show you a man who beat all of this in a single moment 2,000 years ago. Julius Caesar stood on the bank of a small river called the Rubicon. Roman law was absolute. A general could not bring his army across that river toward Rome. To cross it was treason, civil war, all or nothing, no taking it back. And Caesar sat there knowing every safe option was still open to him. He could wait. He could prepare more. He could tell himself a better moment was coming, that a stronger version of him would cross next month. Every con in this video was right there, offering him the comfortable way out. Instead, he crossed. And as he did, he said the die is cast, meaning the dice were already thrown, the outcome already in motion, no calling it back. He didn't outmuscle his fear. He did something smarter. He destroyed his own escape route, so the fear had nothing left to protect, and the only direction left was forward, which leads to the 5th con, and this one is so well disguised that you've probably been proud of it. The 5th con is the pressure lie. It sounds almost like a strength. I work better under pressure. I just need the deadline to be close. That's how I'm wired. I do my best stuff at the last minute, and so you wait. You let the time run down. You tell yourself you're being efficient, that you'll lock in when it gets real. But strip the flattering language off it and look at what's underneath. You're avoiding the work, and you've given the avoidance a name that lets you feel good about it. You think it's your process. Is it your process? Or is it the one excuse your brain found that you'd never argue with because it sounds like a compliment? Recall the last thing you did in a last-minute scramble, heart pounding, the night before it was due. You probably told yourself afterward that you thrive that way. But you never got to see what you'd have made with real time, because you never gave yourself any. You only ever saw the panicked version, and you called it your best because it's the only one you've met. The cost is every piece of work you've handed over half-formed and frantic, and the quiet ceiling on everything you do, because nothing built in a panic ever reaches what it could have been. You've been calling a limitation a personality trait. If pressure really is the only thing that moves you, then the counter is simple. You manufacture it on purpose, early, instead of waiting for the real deadline to arrive in a panic. You create a hard stop with a real witness and a real cost, and you set it now, at the start, not the fake one your brain swears is coming later. You take the pressure that usually shows up at the last minute, and you move it to the first. A man who needs a crisis to act, Machiavelli saw, will always seem to have one, because somewhere underneath, he has arranged his whole life so that he never has to act without it. The 6th con is the cruelest, because it waits until you've already won the hardest part, and then it robs you. What is it? The 6th con is the early exit. This one is patient. It lets you start, which is what makes it so dangerous, because starting is supposed to be the hard part, and you did it, so you let your guard down. Then partway in, right around the point where the work starts to actually demand something, a quiet voice says, This is good enough for today. You've done enough. You've earned a rest, and it feels true because you did start, you did do something. So you stop, right at the edge of where the real growth was about to happen, and you walk away feeling accomplished. You think you put in a solid session. Did you stop because the work was done, or because it just started to get uncomfortable? There was a time, probably many times, you sat down and began, did the easy first stretch, and then quit the moment it got hard, telling yourself you'd done your part. It felt like a win. It was a retreat, dressed up as one. And this is where the most progress dies. Not in the things you never start. You've already learned to beat that one. It dies in the 1,000 sessions you began and abandoned at the exact point they were about to count. All the workouts that stopped at the first burn, right when the muscle was about to actually change. All the writing that ended the moment it got difficult, right before the good part you'd have found on the next page. All the practice that quit the second it got boring, which is the precise moment skill is built. The early exit is so devastating because it steals from you at the only point that ever mattered, the hard part, the part that does the work, the part everyone else also quits. The whole difference between people who get the result and people who don't isn't starting. Almost everyone starts. It's whether you're still there 10 minutes after your brain said enough. The counter is to decide where you stop before you start. When you're still honest, you set the line in advance, the page count, the number of reps, the minutes, and you make it non-negotiable once you've begun. Then, when the voice shows up mid-task whispering enough, you have an answer ready. We agreed on the number, because the number was chosen by the clear-headed version of you at the start, not the tired one looking for an exit halfway through. The retreat sounded at the moment of advantage, Machiavelli observed, is how most battles are actually lost, not at the beginning, but one step from the win. And now you're ready for the last move, the one underneath all 6, and you'll see it isn't a con at all. It's the way out. The 7th, the master move, is to follow the resistance. Look back at the whole playbook and watch every con collapse into one. Later steered you away from discomfort by promising it tomorrow. Fake work steered you away with the comfort of looking busy. The mountain scared you off with its size. Future you handed the discomfort to someone who'd never show. The pressure lie gave your avoidance a name you could be proud of. The early exit pulled you out the second it started to bite. 6 different lies, all pointed at the exact same target, your discomfort. Because that's the one thing your brain is built to keep you away from. It treats discomfort as danger, and it is desperate to keep you safe. But here's the thing your brain cannot tell the difference between, and it's everything. Growth and threat feel identical from the inside. The hard conversation, the cold gym, the blank page, the risky move, all of it produces the same signal your brain uses for genuine danger. Fear, resistance, the urge to flee. So your brain fights the thing that would change your life with the exact same alarm it would use for a real threat. And you've spent your whole life obeying that alarm, treating the resistance as a stop sign. So you flip it. Your enemy, Machiavelli, understood, builds his strongest walls around the thing he's most afraid to lose. Study where the walls are highest, and you've found the treasure. Your resistance works the same way. The thing your brain fights hardest, the task you keep avoiding most, the move that makes the cons come out in force, that is the map. The resistance isn't the wall keeping you from the thing. The resistance is the arrow pointing at it. So instead of needing to feel ready, or motivated, or rested ever again, you do something far simpler. You find where the resistance is loudest, and you walk straight into it, because the loudness is the brain telling you exactly where the thing that matters is hidden. Sit with how completely that changes the game. Every other approach to doing hard things waits on a feeling. Wait until you're motivated. Wait until you're inspired. Wait until you want it badly enough. And the feeling never reliably comes, which is why those approaches fail you. This one needs no feeling at all. You don't have to want it. You don't have to feel ready. You only have to locate the resistance and move toward it, the way a doctor presses exactly where it hurts, because that's where the problem is. The next time you feel that wall go up, the heavy, foggy, anything but this feeling, you don't read it as stop, you read it as a signal flare. Something here matters, or my brain wouldn't be spending this much to keep me away from it. And you go there. The avoidance becomes the directions. Study where your enemy builds his highest walls, Machiavelli wrote, for he builds them around the thing he most fears to lose. And your brain has been building its highest walls around the exact life you were trying to reach. So let me hand you the playbook back. Fast, the way you'll carry it. Later never comes. Fake work. The mountain, future you won't. The pressure lie. The early exit. And under all of them, follow the resistance. Now turn it on your real life, because that's the only place it counts. What have you been going to do later for so long you've stopped even noticing it's there? What preparing are you hiding inside right now? What are you staring at whole because it looks too big to start? What did you quietly hand to a future you who never showed up? What piece of avoidance have you been calling a strength? Where do you quit every time the second it starts to count? And the big one, where is your resistance loudest in your life right now? Because that is the map, and you've been reading it upside down. Sit with those, because the next time you walk into your day, these exact moments are going to be waiting for you. The thing you'd normally push to tonight, you're going to do now. The preparing you'd normally hide in, you're going to skip and start ugly instead. The task that looks like a mountain, you're going to crack with one move too small to argue with. The work you'd normally hand to future you, you're going to put a real cost on today. The deadline you'd normally let run down, you're going to set early and make real. The session you'd normally quit halfway, you're going to finish at the number you agreed to when you were honest. And the wall of resistance you'd normally treat as a reason to stop, you're going to walk straight into it, because now you know what it's guarding. This is what you can't undo now. You've seen the playbook, and a con only works in the dark. The entire reason these have run on you your whole life is that you never knew they were running. But you've now watched your own brain tell you later, watched it hand your life to a future you, watched it call your avoidance a strength, and you've named each one out loud. You can't fully fall for a lie you can hear being told. From now on, the voice is going to say, this is good enough for today, and some part of you is going to recognize the con as it happens. That recognition doesn't go away. The dark is gone. If you saw even one of these cons running on you while I was talking, write it in the comments so I know it landed. I see the con. Put it somewhere you'll read it again the next time your brain reaches for one. And keep watching the next video. It is important. Much more than you imagine. See you there.